Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. It's 16 miles to the promised land, and I've got no rhythm. That song has been going around in my head. It's called With Arms Outstretched by Rilo Kiley, and it was the song my daughter chose to walk down the aisle a couple of weeks ago. We just had celebrated her wedding. There she is, my little girl. Right there. And we had a fabulous weekend. Lots of family flew out. Everyone who could get here made it. I just took my mum back to the airport this morning. She's gone home, so got the apartment to ourselves all over again. But it was a fabulous day. And maybe if there's demand, I might put up a snippet of the speech that I gave. I'm not sure how to do it without reading everyone else's names, but whatever. If you're interested in that, I wore a very smart suit. People told me that I looked very smart, which would have been more a compliment if they hadn't all sounded quite so surprised. Okay, what am I here to do? Yeah, going back a couple of weeks ago, last time I was making a video, there was a whole kerfuffle around what makes a classic. And I, tongue-in-cheek, suggested that in order to find a classic, it had to have been published by Penguin Classics, and I suggested that the original Black Spine Penguin Classic was the only thing that counted really as a Penguin Classic. Since that time, I took ownership of a book that I ordered from Amazon that my friend, who's a pilot, who flew out for the wedding, brought me. And it is this, and this is what I want to share with you. And I warn everyone in advance, this is going to get super nerdy. And if you are a book nerd, you might appreciate this. If not, you're just going to hear me rambling about books without necessarily talking about specific books. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this beautiful objet d'art. This is the Penguin Classics Catalogue 2026. It's published as one of these cloth-bound classics, which I made a video about how awful they are. I read Vanity Fair and all the ink already rubbed off. They and didn't do a design for this, so it's just the word catalogue, Penguin Classics 2026, and on the back there's a sticker with the price of it. This was new. This is £6. I bought this from Amazon, so it maybe cost me £5.50 or whatever it is, whatever discount they gave me. And it is exactly what it says. This is a catalogue of, well, I'll tell you, because there is a note at the beginning which explains exactly what this is. So let's, I'll quote from the book, and then there's something super interesting which I'm going to tell you about. So this catalogue includes every Penguin Classic in print at the time of publication up to the end of March 2026. Okay, so first of all, in print, that's something, everything that's in print currently up to the end of March 2026. Do Penguin Classics fall out of print? Clearly they do. So there may be books, and I have examples, that were once published as Penguin Classics that are no longer in print as Penguin Classics. So actually this catalogue is a snapshot of now. This is not an exhaustive list of everything that's ever been published in all the different formats as a Penguin Classic. That's the first thing we need to note. Second thing about the presentation within this book, organized alphabetically by author, and I have a caveat about that. Or I say, yes, it says the caveat's right here. Organized alphabetically by author, open brackets, or by title in the cases of anonymous works and anthologies. Problematic. It also lists pseudonyms, co-authors, translators, anthology editors. Fine. Many works are available in several translations. So these are books currently in print. For example, Homer's Odyssey. It will be listed under Homer, but within Homer's Odyssey, there are several translations. Okay, still in print, lots of translations, including one in 2025 by Daniel Mendelsohn, which is kind of interesting to me because I've read some works by Daniel Mendelsohn. When an author has more than one title, these are listed in alphabetical order. That annoyed me. I'm less interested. I can alphabetize things. So if I want to see all the works of Charles Dickens, I don't need them presented in alphabetical order. What I would like to have seen them done is presented works of the same author presented in publication order, chronological order. I understand that for real classics even the year, certainly the month of publication, these are things that are lost of time and kind of irrelevant. But anything post, I don't know, post-printing press, I would have liked to have seen them published, in the catalogued in chronological order. So that's one thing. When a title exists in more than one translation, these are listed in chronological order. Fine. When a translation has been made by a particularly significant author, for example, Angela Carter's translation of the fairy tales of Charles Perrault, the book is listed twice under both original author, so it's listed under Perrault, but also in this instance, because Angela Carter is has her own entry for her books, her translation of the fairy tales of Charles Perrault is also listed under Angela Carter. That's fine. In a few cases, the contents of a single authored omnibus title are listed in parentheses. This is an interesting one. Euripides. So there are a fair number of titles published by Euripides. Let me just turn to that. Okay. But there are two books currently published by Penguin Classics, both called Medea and Other Plays. Two books with separate ISBNs and separate plays, different plays in each one. Both of them have Medea, because Medea and Other Plays. But there's one version of Medea and Other Plays which has, I don't know how to pronounce, Hecab, Hecate, Electra and Heracles. I'm absolutely butchering that, I'm sure. And then there's Medea and Other Plays featuring another one I don't know how to pronounce, Alcestis, Medea, the children of Heracles, and Hippolytus. Both called Medea and Other Plays, both published by Penguin Classics. They could be sitting next to each other on a shelf, and you might pick one, and by chance you're going to get that one with those three other plays and this one with those. Who knows? I don't know why they do it. No rhyme or reason. But this is the part that I wanted to talk about. Where titles are published in different formats or sub-series, these are in the listed, and now it lists 25 different formats or sub-series. That is Penguin's title. These are all in the Penguin Classics catalogue, and these are all formats or sub-series that come under the Penguin Classics umbrella. So, starting with Penguin Classics, the Black Spine edition, and probably the most familiar, Penguin Modern Classics, including Penguin Modern Classics under the Penguin Classics umbrella. And these days, I think, are that sort of mint colouring on the back and on the spine. I'm not even sure if that's the latest one. Okay, so that's the Penguin Clothbound Classics. We've spoken about those. There's Penguin Clothbound Poetry. I'm guessing those are the same format, but poetry, and they've decided that's a different sub-series. There are hardback classics. So these are separate to the clothbound classics, which are hardbacks. There is something called hardback classics under, that's one of the formats. There's little clothbound classics. I'm guessing that's just a size difference, but I don't know what those books are. I'd like to see, at the back of this, I would like to have seen all the list of everything published as one of these little imprints, or what they're calling them, format or sub-series. There's pocket hardbacks. So we had hardback classics, little clothbound classics, pocket hardbacks. There's a category they're calling Demi, D-E-M-Y, larger Demi format for new translations. Demi is just a book size. Penguin English Library. What the heck is the Penguin English Library? What's in the Penguin English Library that isn't a modern classic or a classic? Don't know. Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. No idea. If you have any of these, if you've got something from the Penguin English Library currently in print, or something, a Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition, I'd love to see what those. Something called the Design Series, something called Green Ideas. These are also things, I don't know. The Penguin Classics Marvel Collection, I have one of those. I've got Black Panther. Then there's also the Penguin Classics Marvel Collection hardback. I don't have any of the hardbacks, but I've got one of those giant size, comic book size paperbacks. Then they've got two, the next 15 and 16 are Inspector Maigret. So he's got his own format, Inspector Maigret, but those are Penguin Modern Classics. And then there's also something called the Maigret Capsule Collection. Now, I think I have the first one. I think I have a couple of those. So I'm reading through the Maigrets. I think I have a couple that are published as Penguin Modern Classics, but in a special Maigret type presentation. I don't know what the Maigret Capsule Collection is. It's something called Great Ideas. So there's the Design Ideas, Green Ideas, and Great Ideas. And because I have one of those, that gives me a clue as to what the Design Series or the Design or the Green Ideas looks like. I've got this. This is published under the Great Ideas subcategory format series. This is the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction by Walter Benjamin. It's a smaller size, little paperback, 120 pages. On the back of this, it lists books 41 to 60. So I'm guessing this is the third series. Those there must have been 1 to 20 and 21 to 40. And this is amongst the 41. This is book 56 of that. Maybe there were more. Maybe there's also 61 to 80. But that's the Great Ideas. That gives you an example of something which comes under Penguin Classics, but this is a sub-series called Great Ideas. There's also Little Black Classics. Those are also those short, well, they were originally 60p, and then they sold for £1, probably now £2 or £3. But maybe one short story of Truman Capote's, or the Black one, probably one short story of Chekhov or something like that, or two short stories. The Penguin Modern, which is, they're saying, are mini editions of the Penguin Modern Classics. Penguin Classic Science Fiction, I've never seen those, but I'd love to, if you've got an example, I'd like to see. Penguin Crime and Espionage, I don't know what that imprint currently looks like. Penguin Westerns, don't know what that looks like. Penguin Archive, what the heck is a Penguin Archive? Penguin Student Readers, what are those, like Cliff Notes? Is that, or like abridged versions? I don't know what those are. And then the 25th category or sub-series is NS, Non-Standard Out of Series. Wow. Okay. So one of the things I said, there's one of the problems I have is that it mixes, things are either by alphabetical order of author, or anthologies are mixed in with those, and that's problematic. So let's start at the beginning. I'll show you what the entries look like. This is page A. We start with Edward Abbey, the Monkey Wrench Gang, and PMC means it's a Penguin Modern Classic, and there's the ISBN, and then you move on to the next author, and it goes all the way up to Stefan Zweig. And they've got it here. Well, actually, it's not on the page, but there's something that's under numbers. That's 100 Artist Manifestos from the Futurist, the Stuckist, edited by Alex Danchev. But we'll talk about that in a second. Stefan Zweig there, 3 books, and lists the translator, if it's a work in translation. Doesn't say which language it's translated from. And it lists those. And the second one, Chess, is published as a Penguin Modern Classic, also as a LCC. What was LCC? Little cloth-bound classic, and then also the archive edition. So there's 3 different versions of Chess by Stefan Zweig, translated by Anthea Bell. Okay, but what I wanted to show you was where I think they've gone wrong. So here we've got Eric Ambler, you can see there, and a bunch of books published by Penguin Modern Classics. The title of the book, again, published in alphabetical, or listed here in alphabetical order, not super useful for me. And then the next author after Eric Ambler is Kingsley Amis. But in between Ambler and Amis, so authors in alphabetical order, they've got an anthology title. Can you see it there? American Supernatural Tales. And it's only, so the books are slightly indented, and this is first level again, but it's very hard to tell. You might get through this and think that American Supernatural Tales was another book by Eric Ambler. Well, very strange video this is going to make. Anyway, so I don't love the fact that they didn't have a separate category for anthologies. They've just sort of mixed them in there where you wouldn't necessarily expect to find them. If you're looking at authors, looking for something, you're looking for authors, and then an anthology, you're supposed to look alphabetically among the authors. I don't think that's super smart. Okay, what does it mean for a book to be currently in print? I had a look at an author who I think of as being fairly mainstream, widely read, understood as a classic, Mark Twain. So I turned to Mark Twain and had a look at what books are currently in print. So first of all, Turgenev has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books currently in print. 1, 2, 3, 4, with at least 4 different translators by Ivan Turgenev. Mark Twain has the following books currently in this catalogue. Mark Twain. We've got here The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I have, this is my old Black Spine Penguin Classics edition, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. It's currently available in like 4 different formats, according to this. Then they've got The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. I've got that here. Also, this beautiful Black Spine. When's this from? I bought this in 1991, so that's 35 years old. Then the next is a Connecticut Yankee in the Court of King Arthur, or King Arthur's Court, is the actual title of the book. I have that as well. Also Penguin Classics, Black Spine, Red Top. Next one is Pudd'nhead Wilson, which I have in this older edition, which was then called the Penguin English Library. I don't think that's the same Penguin English Library that is currently in print and books are published in, but that's what I have. This is Orange Spine, Pudd'nhead Wilson. Then next up is some, and this is just, turns out this way, some non-fiction actually just comes alphabetically later on. We've got Roughing It, and we have A Tramp Abroad, which I think includes his trip to, is that right? There's Tramp Abroad where he talks about visiting Israel. which wasn't even Israel in those days. Anyway, that's everything that is currently in print in the catalogue for Penguin Classics. But I've got some more Twain here. For example, I've got The Prince and the Pauper, also black spine, red top, Penguin Classic. Now, that's a fairly well-known, it's been filmed a couple of times, made into TV shows. Prince and the Pauper seems fairly canonical. Twain, for whatever reason, no longer in print. I've also got this, perhaps less vital. This is Tom Sawyer Abroad, Tom Sawyer Detective, two sort of short stories that tell stories about Tom Sawyer. I picked it up because it was published by Penguin Classics, and I was on a Twain binge at the time. And sort of more inexplicably, Twain's Life on the Mississippi, which I have as this faded red top, black spine, Penguin Classics, which according to the catalogue is no longer in print. Also, I know I don't have a copy, and I've been meaning to get a copy for a while, and also not in the catalogue, there is a Penguin, certainly in this edition, the black spine, red top edition of Mark Twain short stories. I don't know if it's every short story he ever wrote, but it's a I think 700-800 page book of Twain's short stories, and for whatever reason, no longer in print. This is, as I say, this is sitting on my coffee table right now, and I keep referring to it. I certainly don't see this as a checklist that I would ever make my way through, but as a book that I keep referring to and picking up and saying, oh, I wonder what they got this, or that's kind of interesting, and wow, and that's Penguin are publishing that. A bunch of authors that I've never heard of, so a lot of works in translation. Dashiell Hammett, The Thin Man, that's the only book they have in print as a Penguin modern classic. I remember also Chandler. They don't have single editions anymore. Raymond Chandler. They've got The Big Sleep and Farewell My Lovely. They've got The Big Sleep and Other Novels, which is The Big Sleep, Farewell My Lovely, and The Longer By, and then The Lady in the Lake and Other Novels. The Lady in the Lake, High Window, and The Little Sister. So all the novels, but none of the short story collections. It's an odd, who knows why books go in and out of print. I imagine even some of these that are in print sell hundreds of copies a year, not more. I mean hundreds. I mean on the low end. Yeah, they're keeping it in print and they're putting it in the catalogue. But how many copies of these works in translation from 14th century Finnish writers do we need? No, we need them. I'm just saying the fact that that's in print, but Mark Twain's short stories or The Prince and the Pauper isn't in print as a Penguin Classic seems to me fairly unusual. But I just love having this. I'm pleased I've got it. As I said, this was super nerdy, but if you want to know what a classic is, this is what it is. Would I buy this again? Like if they put out another one of these a year from now, would I buy another copy and put it on the shelf as a catalog? Maybe. It's kind of fun. But yeah, this was super nerdy. If you like books, if you like classics, if you read things that are modern classics or older classics, now you know where to find them. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.